So last week,
Yeah.
Meta, did you hear this? Meta came out with their new Meta Ray-Ban glasses. Have you heard this is coming?
This sounds like a setup for a joke, but okay.
No, it's not a setup for a joke.
Okay.
But this is really interesting. I didn't know that this could. It says its popular Ray-Ban Meta glasses
Yeah.
will very soon be able to translate conversations in real time between English and French, Italian, Spanish, and when you're in Hollywood.
But that's the most impressive of all translations is from English to Hollywood. Yeah. Or Hollywood to English, one of the two.
That's exactly how I took it. I'm like, everything
Yeah.
else makes sense to me, but I'll never understand people from Hollywood.
Yeah, it's a whole accent thing, right? It's really sort of a patois if you get into it, which is really sort of a hi, it's here in Hollywood. That's how the people in Hollywood speak.
Yeah, I have to have somebody tell me what patois means.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there you go.
Just remember, everybody has a story to tell. Tell it well. Of this old marketing.
And now, for your listening pleasure, here's Pulizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This Old Marketing. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to This Old Marketing, proudly brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. And I'm Robert Rose, and welcome to episode number 448 for Friday, October 4th, 2024. Welcome to October. And with me, as always, as he always is my pal, my colleague, and a guy who, well, every day dresses like he's ready for Halloween, Mr. Joe Pulizzi.
Not too dis. Yeah, I mean, this.
I know today you don't have any orange on at all.
No, this is orange. This is orange. It's just that such.
It doesn't
such
read orange on
old
camera.
Shirt.
It does not read orange on camera.
Well, I'm not trying to impress you. It's very comfortable.
That's
soft.
been clear for years, my friend.
But I got my Gentleman Jack hat on, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah, did you get that from JK or did you get that from when you?
No, that's when we went down to Jack. I went with JK down to Jack Daniel's Distillery, and this was the finest looking hat I could find. And I actually do sort of prefer the smoothness of Gentleman Jack.
Oh, it's good. No, that's
Jack
good stuff.
Daniels.
Yeah.
Really
Gentleman Jack is good stuff.
That one big honking ice cube in it, and I'm good to go. I'm trying to go that direction. I'm really trying to appreciate the whiskeys. Yeah, okay. I think it's time. I mean,
the bourbons, or are you going for scotches, or where's?
No, I'm just gonna. Right now.
That you're exploring.
Right now, I'm just in the bourbon because I have so many friends that are into the bourbons.
Okay,
so I figure I don't have to buy anything myself.
That's true. You've got a lot of friends.
Go over to their establishment. Yeah, it's a lot of free whiskey is basically what that comes down to. So,
all right, I'm going to make a recommendation for you then.
Okay, I'm listening.
Four Roses.
I have heard multiple people say that Four Roses is that your go-to bourbon?
That is my go-to bourbon right now. Yep. And not because of the namesake, but because it is just absolutely fantastic bourbon. Now that you go for there's the sort of a small batch. They have the small batch version, which is better. I find
small batch. Is that 3 roses?
4 roses.
No, I mean the small batch.
Very, very funny. I mean, okay. All right. See what he did there, folks. It was called comedy. That's called comedy.
Well, for those of you who are listening, you might actually want to go to our YouTube channel.
You really might want
watch
to,
this because we have many amazing video questions.
Yeah, it's fun
today. I got to tell you, we put out an email to some of our closest friends, and I didn't really know if we would get anything. I just said, we love you people. We would like to get a question for a special episode of This Old Marketing, and every one of them sent in an amazing
response was unbelievably great.
I'm really surprised. So we've got some really good ones. Now we have so many. We have 9 that we have here today, and you and I talk a lot.
That's right.
We generally can't answer anything in less than 7 or 8 minutes. We're gonna do our best to be succinct.
Yeah.
Succinct.
Yeah.
and deliver the right answer to these wonderful questions from these experts out here. So, we can probably just get right to it, right?
I think we should jump right in. There's no sense, bitching about football, and there's no sense doing anything else. Let's just get right into these.
I already know, though, since I was out of the country when the Browns played on Sunday, it was already the best Sunday that I've had in a while. I can tell you that right now. I don't even have to know what the score was.
I don't understand.
Better than I'm not paying attention.
I got you. So they either won and it was great, or they lost and you didn't have to watch it.
I was like, it's better for me that I come back to the United States and the Guardians are going to be in the playoffs and I don't have to worry about what the Browns are going to do.
There you go. That's always good.
Hopefully the Cowboys are 2-2.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. That game is literally tonight as we know it will have been
special.
Yeah.
Whatever.
All right. Yeah.
I can't. A week ago, but it doesn't matter. Okay.
Doesn't matter.
So we have these are in no particular order, Robert.
Yeah.
You have not. I've seen most of these. I
haven't seen any of
these.
Yeah.
So what we're getting is 100% pure Robert hot take.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about this because some of these are challenging. I think you're going to be surprised. These are very.
I'll bet you there's some AI questions in there. Probably.
You think?
Yeah.
You think? Okay. Yeah. So our first question is coming from our very, very good friend Andrew Davis.
Oh.
And Andrew Davis, if you don't know, is the most amazing marketing keynote speaker you would ever want. You can get more information at akadrewdavis.com. You should absolutely have him at your event. And he gives us this amazing question, and here it is.
Hey, Robert and Joe. I'm really excited that you're asking some questions, and I have two questions about AI. So I wanted to know if AI can produce content that is basically indistinguishable from human-made work, does that diminish the value we place on our own human creativity, or does it simply just kind of raise the bar for what we consider kind of art, right? And my follow-up to that is, well, does relying on AI for creative content make our marketing less authentic as humans, or does it open up kind of new ways to tap into creativity that humans on their own might not achieve? That's my question, and thanks for asking. Bye.
First of all, I'm going to work with him on the word indistinguishable. So let's just start there. I love you, Andrew.
Oh, we love Drew.
Yeah.
He's the best. So what do you want to? I have a quick take on this.
Do the quick take.
My quick take. This is probably more of what I want to have happen, but I believe if we use AI correctly, we will use it for the tasks that we shouldn't be doing. That will open up opportunities for us to be more creative and to spend more time on the creative process. Part of me thinks that you have to go through some of those challenges and some of those tasks to really be creative, but I'm going to play the optimist here that we may be, if we do this right, be on the verge of a creativity renaissance, if you will, because of AI. What do you think?
I would agree, but here's what I would say to that: it's like every other technology tool that has worked with creativity since time began. In other words, it's an amplification and a tool, so it amplifies. End of sentence. Meaning, if you give it small ideas and you come with small ideas or flawed ideas, you'll get bigger small ideas. You'll get more flawed ideas. And if you come to it with the idea of helping you take your original amazing creative idea and expressing it in a way that is is different, it can be an amazing tool to help you take a amazing creative wonderful idea and express it in multiple different ways. So to me, it is simply a tool that allows us to focus on our creativity, and it will fail in the way that Andrew is suggesting if we bring it as a crutch. If there's how many years have we seen this sort of you don't know Photoshop? There was a whole YouTube channel at one point for a guy who said who was like, you don't know how to use Photoshop, and it was just these crazy sort of bad Photoshop things. And the same thing, right? I mean, bring unskilled to it, bring an unskilled idea to it. Yeah, you'll have a very unskilled idea represented by AI in a very uncreative way. Bring a great idea to it, and you might.
I like that. Actually, we talked about it a couple of episodes. I like it. It's akin to Jim Carrey's The Mask. You put the mask on, you get more of who you are. It's the same thing. So more of whatever you're putting into it, you get more of that.
That's right. Exactly.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Good answer.
There you
9
go.
out of 10.
I like
thumbs
it.
Up. Okay. Our next question is from our good friend Katie Brinkley. Katie runs a wonderful agency. She's got a great social media book out there called The Social Shift. Check that out. And here is her question.
One question that I have for you is directly based when it comes to content creation. So as a podcaster or YouTuber, creating that personal content, because I've found that when I work with a lot of CEOs or business owners, they're really hesitant about building out their personal brand due to concerns of that they might interfere with their business and their company's brand. How would you guide them in developing a solid content strategy that really strikes the right balance? What are some of the factors that you consider when you're deciding whether you should be prioritizing your personal brand or your business brand, and how can they coexist without really diluting each other's impact?
Yeah,
that's a very, very good question.
Great question.
And I think something that you probably right now deal with a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I got a small take, but I'd love to hear your take first.
Yeah. Well, first of all, her audio quality is just like insanely good. As an audiophile, I absolutely, what she's doing there is amazing. Anyway, and the video looks great too. So my take on this is that it's obviously a spectrum, depending on not only just the size of your brand and what it is that the brand actually does to really drive the need for those two things, your personal brand and your company brand, to intertwine. But it also is a choice, right? There is a choice to be made. And so what I would say is that right now where we sit, bringing the human to your brand is, I don't care how big it is incredibly important. This is especially true if you're a content creator in the media industry, in something that is representative of content-driven experiences, right? So, it may be less true, for example, if you sell rain gutters or if you sell, those kinds of things. Although I might argue that it's, that it is important. It might not just be as important. And so bringing the human up, because where trust is and where people are developing loyalty is not to necessarily company brands as much as it is to people, which is really important in today's AI-driven misinformation, disinformation world. So you got to find the human no matter who you are. Now, the question is, who is that human that's going to represent your brand in so many different ways? And how much of that needs to be you? When it's you on your own in size and you're small and you're a small business, I would argue it pretty much needs to be very much intermingled. Your brand, your personal brand, and what it is you do for a living in your company is truly a super important aspect of it. And I don't think it diffuses from the brand, because I think those two things need to be aligned. In other words, you need to be your own brand's best influencer in that space. And then as you get bigger, when you get to be the size of Apple or VMware or, Microsoft or something like that, well, it becomes less important to bring one, although you can argue the CEO and senior leadership is a huge piece of this. Look at OpenAI, for example, and how much they're wrapped into the personal brand of say, Sam Altman, or, others, that may represent their brand. And there's an advantage there. There's an advantage to having that sort of, these days, a CEO, a CMO, or senior leader who can wrap their personal brand and either help the company brand, or basically the other way around. The company brand helps to substantiate the personal brand. So I think in today's modern marketing, they are very much intertwined, and it's very much a considered part of your marketing strategy to where you're going to bring the humanity into it.
No, I mean, that's all great. I don't have to add too much to it other than the fact that I think, especially business owners that Katie's talking to for her agency, they have to understand that this is part of the job now.
That's right.
Being
exactly
known,
right.
being an expertise in something outside of the business that you're in. The second thing I would say that I know a lot of people don't do, but it's so valuable if you do it, you need your own content mission statement for you, and that's a different one from your business. So who you're targeting, what you want to be known for, how you're going to do that from a personal standpoint is one separate thing. And then you have the business. Once you have those two components, then you can figure out where each fit. But a lot of people don't. Like you and I both know there's a lot of individuals out there that are experts that have great businesses, but they've never done like, oh, individually, here's who I'm targeting. Individually, here's how I'm communicating. It's my own personal blog or newsletter or whatever. They haven't thought that out. They just become extensions of the business. And if you ever leave that business, that's very challenging because basically your mission statement and your business's mission statement are the same, and they probably shouldn't be. So.
Yes. And the only nuance that I would add to that is, or don't. In other words, if you're a CEO or a leader of a company and you want to go off on, hot takes on politics or religion, or you want to sort of go off and be sort of a rebel, you want a very different brand than what your business does, then you need to very purposely separate those things, because if you're looking to build that, for the sake of the business, you need to very much purpose. And then what it is, you've got to find the human that does represent your business and who will be that sort of representative human and brand for your company.
Love it. Thank you, Katie. Yeah. Wonderful. Our next on the Wheel of Destiny, we're going to choose A. Lee Judge, another wonderful friend of the show and family. Yes. By the way, I didn't know this. He told me he's launching a new AI-powered podcast platform for content publishers.
I'm not sure about how I feel about this.
Don't say anything right now. You got to talk. It's called showpod.ai. I don't know anything about it other than the fact that Lee's doing it, so it's probably very, very good. Yeah, and I guess you have your own feelings. So there you go. So Lee is going to be very upset by your comments on here.
We'll find out.
All right, here's Lee's question.
Okay, guys, here's my question. As a corporate marketer, what is one measurement, just one KPI that you want to tell business leaders, stop measuring that? You're fooling yourself with that metric. If you could convince them to stop measuring one, what would it be?
Talk about great production quality.
Yeah, I mean, he's insane. I mean,
he's the best.
It's what he does for a living, but it's insane how good he is.
So good. Yeah. I'll go first. Although it's not as big of an issue as it used to be, but number one, website traffic. I mean,
oh God, yes.
It's almost a meaningless metric today, especially with what Google is doing. So you want to measure things like subscriptions, and when people take actions and behavior, website traffic is pretty much meaningless because a lot of it's bot traffic, and Google's not going to send it to you anymore. So I would also say with that, our vanity metrics of followers and those types of things. I mean, I don't know if that's still an issue, if you're hearing that as much, but when somebody asks me, like, what's a meaningless metric, I almost invariably think website traffic. I don't know. How about you?
I have two. Audience size on any of your social media channels. Meaningless metric these days. The For You tab has killed audience size as any kind of meaningful measure of how many people you're going to reach. And the exception to that right now is LinkedIn, but we'll see how that is.
I don't know if that is an exception though. I really think that
it may not be, but I do
the algorithm game like most.
Yeah, I do notice that I get, when I do the same post that some of my colleagues do that have much fewer like you, for example, you have exponentially more followers on LinkedIn than I do, and your posts usually get better reach because the content's not as good. Let's just be honest. I mean, come on. So social media
You're
followers,
probably right. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Social media followers are one. The other would be open rate on email. So it's there's too many email clients now that just have preview panes. And so, which if you roll over and get a preview of that email, even if you don't read it, you'll get an open. So open rates are a meaningless metric.
So that means the click-through rate is way more meaningful.
Way more. Yeah. Or the one I love is, and Handley talks about this, and Handley talks about the responses to when you send email, how many responses do you get? That's that's an incredible, great value.
That's
metric.
lovely. But again, if you have an email program, you have to create content that creates responses.
There you go.
Ask questions. See if you can get information. Speaking of Ann Handley.
Oh my gosh, we have Ann Handley on the show. Holy
how
smokes.
did you do that? What's to say about Ann Handley? Everybody Writes is a fantastic book. Go pick it up. Great keynote speaker, marketing profs, all the good stuff. Here is Ann's question. Let's see what she's got.
That's right.
Okay, you ready? Here's my question to Robert and to Joe. If you could choose any literary or movie robot to be your personal AI agent, who would you choose, or what would you choose, and why?
Oh my God.
She's so awesome.
Why does
I love
she
her
do
so
that?
much.
Why does she do that? She's like, we were going fine with like regular questions, and then she hits us with this amazing, thought-provoking question.
Is it really though? Is it? I mean,
I like it.
I
like it because
it's a fun question.
As you'll find out, most of these questions are like really, really serious questions, and then Ann's like, "I want to know something that has nothing to do with marketing,
with anything." Yeah, exactly.
But it'll tell us something about us personally. I'll give you time to think about this one.
No, I've got mine.
Oh,
mine came right away. Yeah.
Oh, what do you got?
Data from Star Trek. Yeah.
It's always with the Star Trek.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's an easy one. That's an
Trek.
easy one. Yeah, it's an easy one.
Mine was not as easy as yours because I don't live in a world of Star Trek like you do. At first, I was going to say, I love Wally. I would have loved to have Wally around. Then you got R2D2, and then of course Bumblebee.
Can't understand
Transformers.
R2D2. I mean, you
don't have to. Always there with the drink. Always there with the drink.
Well, that's a good point. That's an excellent point.
I also thought of Iron Giant.
He's got a cup holder that kind of slides out. Yeah.
I also thought of the Iron Giant, which I'm sure you would appreciate. You probably didn't think about that one, but
Iron
here's
Giant
the one.
Is a great one.
Here's the one that really I think I have the biggest emotional connection with. It's Andrew, which is Robin Williams' character in The Bicentennial Man. That is the one that
underappreciated movie. Yeah, underappreciated.
That's the one that really came to mind because Andrew always wanted to be human.
Yeah,
and actually goes through a whole lot to be human, but really brought the emotional side to the table.
Oh my gosh, there's an amazing scene in there when he's there's
so many.
You should go see that movie if you haven't seen it.
Completely underrated movie, but my answer is Andrew from Bicentennial Man, and you're gonna go with Data
from Star Trek for sure.
Not as good of an answer, but still pretty good.
Yep.
All right. Do we want to do another question, or we want to pay the bills?
Pay the bills.
Let's pay the bills. Okay, let's do that.
With smaller budgets and sky-high expectations, growth, well, it's feeling pretty painful right about now. But HubSpot just announced more than 200 major product updates to make the impossible growth feel impossibly easy. Like Breeze, a suite of new AI-powered tools that help you say goodbye to busy work and hello to better work. Breeze Intelligence to give you the richest, most comprehensive picture of your prospects and customers, and reimagined marketing and content hubs to attract and convert more leads and send your revenue soaring. Visit HubSpot.com/spotlight to learn more. You want to follow the hot new podcast? Let me give you the hottest one I know. It's Entrepreneurs on Fire, hosted by John Lee Dumas, and it's available now on the HubSpot Podcast Network. Entrepreneurs on Fire stokes inspiration and shares strategies to fire up your entrepreneurial journey and create the life you've always dreamed of. This podcast is for anybody who wants to learn about entrepreneurship. If you like fast-paced and packed with value stories, this show is for you. Entrepreneurs love this show because John raves about successful entrepreneurs, from failures to aha moments to what is working for them currently. You can find Entrepreneurs on Fire wherever you follow your favorite podcasts.
You might not know this, Robert, but I've been on that show 6 times.
Wow.
Did you know that?
I did not know that. I've been on that show 0 times.
He just did the best episodes of all time and brought them back, and one of them was one of my episodes.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Not to talk about me, but
that's very sweet. That's very sweet.
ALD does a great job. By the way, John Lee Dumas is a wonderful person, always there to help. I'm so happy with all of his success and his podcast.
He's just been killing it for years.
Right. I mean, it was that podcast was a case study in I think my 15 Content Inc. book. I mean, it's been around. He's been around for a long time. He's done a great job. All right. We're at the halfway point.
I like it.
We're rolling through. I think we're doing okay so far.
Yeah, I think we're keeping it to time. Yeah.
Now here's a very short question from our good friend Brian Piper. We talked about Brian's new book, Epic Content Marketing for Higher Education. Pick it up at brianpiper.com. And here is his question.
What recommendations would you have for graduating college marketing students just getting into the industry? Thanks so much.
Okay. Brian with that hotel room is like,
wow.
I
asked Brian. Brian was on the road, and he's been really kicking butt, doing a lot.
Yeah, he's been
traveling a lot, and so he sent this very, very late at night, and he was a trooper for doing it.
Yeah,
so thank you for Brian.
Thank you, Brian,
for sneaking us into your schedule. I guess my answer to that would be, and I would recommend this for any younger person, is build a platform on anything. Like if you're interested in butterflies, photography, if it's something around marketing, great. Since you're talking about marketing, Brian, or whatever it is, create a podcast, create a YouTube channel, create a show of some kind, create an email newsletter, something, build a platform around something, build your website out as well, and go through the process and the pains of learning what it takes to build an audience. If you do that, you will get hired in a marketing job faster than anything else that you can do, because you already will know, how do I get found in Google search? How do I increase my followers? How do I increase my my subscribers to my email newsletter? Whatever it is, you're going to go through the process and you're going to understand it probably better than the person that's going to be interviewing you for a job. So that would be my recommendation. Robert.
I think that's a great recommendation. The only what I would add to it is to say you can, because it's such a great piece of advice, which is there's a wonderful saying, which is, if you want to learn something, figure out how to teach it. Right. So marketing strategy, figure out how to teach it. And the way to teach it is to go experience by being an entrepreneur and trying to do all the things that you just said, like build a platform and do those things, because the skill, instead of focusing on being a hyper-focused skill player in one area, and writing is a key one, right? Where, many young people that are coming out of university, it's like they're great writers and they create content, but they don't know anything else about a lot. And so that is going to be, you're going to struggle with that, right? So figuring out how you add strategy to that, how you figure measurement out from that, get good at more than one thing, get good at more than one particular thing, and you will bring sort of experience and your empathy and your creativity together to really focus on being strategic in an organization. And that's the human differentiation that you'll always have over the technology.
Good. No, I think we're on the same page.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
You do that, start trying to build a platform, you will get good at a lot.
Have to get good at a lot of things. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, this show wouldn't be possible without help from our Canadian friends. So I thought it was very important that we get a question from Canada. So our good friend Rob, who has a great agency, Road 55, also have a great print magazine. He was nice enough to send us this question.
Hi, Joe and Robert. Or if I'm lazy, Joe Burt. Good to see you. Rob LaLacheur here from Road 55, way up north in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Quick question for you. You've talked about advocacy for companies investing in content marketing. You've highlighted the importance of empowering individual staff members to build their personal brands as a way to enhance the overall business brand. So considering limited resources, what percentage of a company's marketing budget and time would you recommend allocating specifically towards developing employees' personal brands? And how can companies strike that right balance between promoting those individual voices and maintaining their cohesive brand identity? Thanks so much. Love everything that you guys do. Take care, my friends, and we'll talk soon.
Lovely.
Fantastic question from Rob.
Lovely, right? And it's very different from Katie's as well.
Yeah.
Who was talking about the owner
That's right.
Or the founder. So what do you think? How important is and what do we invest in content creators who are our employees and their personal brands, if you will?
Well, it's incredibly important. Answering the percentage of budget is a little difficult because it's a little bit like asking what percentage of budget should you of your overall revenue, for example, should you have as your marketing budget?
Yeah.
And, the range is there from anything from 5 to 30%, right? I mean, so it becomes a meaningless answer in terms of, depending on your objectives, right? Whether it's growth, whether it's protecting a legacy brand, whether it's, incremental growth, whatever it is. So I can't and won't answer the percentage of budget. What I would say is that today, similar to the way I answered Katie's question, which is the need for human representation of your brand is high, right? So, whether that's influencer marketing to a certain degree, whether it's finding celebrity spokespeople, whether it's, elevating your own brand as a business owner, having some focus on the easiest audience that you should have, which are your employees, and those that are comfortable and want to do that, I would invest pretty heavily in it. I would invest pretty heavily in training, upskilling, and helping them not only express your brand, but express a platform of their own personal brand to go along with it. And to the question of the pushback, which would be, well, how much do we want to invest in employees when we're not sure that they're going to stick around, right? It always comes back to me to that sort of training question. It's like, how much investment should we put into training? Because what if they don't stick around, right? And it's like, the corollary to that is, well, what if we invest nothing in training and they do stick around, right?
Exactly.
So,
wow.
So putting that level of risk in your marketing for the people who want to embrace it. I wouldn't force this. This is not a forced thing. This has to be something that the actual employees want to do, because some don't, honestly, but those that do, I would absolutely foster that, get it, help them build their career by helping them become leaders in their space. And that only helps you and your brand in the short term and the medium term and possibly the long term.
No, I think you're absolutely right. It's almost, we see a lot of content and marketing groups become creator resource departments. How do we help these employees
great way to put it.
Communicate better? How do we train them? And the other outside of that, what you can also do is figure out, do we have certain initiatives like our email newsletter or our podcast that they can own, that are willing to do it? And I think you're going to, like I was telling somebody the other day, look at all the email newsletters from the New York Times. 5 years ago, they were all coming from the name of the newsletter. Now 75% are coming from an individual journalist. So they're really leaning into that. So look at what those innovative companies are doing. And I think that we have to do the same thing. Your newsletter is going to come from an individual, an employee at your company. Your podcast, an employee. The YouTube channel should be run by an employee and have a voice and feel and whatever. Train them, like you were saying, to understand what works and what doesn't. And I think by the way, they'll be better employees and they'll be more likely to stay then, because they're probably doing something they want to do. But I like your point. If they want to.
Right.
You don't have to force people to do it.
And by the way, you don't have to always stick with it if they're, and I'll just say it out loud, if they're not any good at it, right? In other words, there are plenty of people, I have plenty of businesses that I know who go, oh, we'll do a podcast and it just makes sense for our VP of marketing to be the podcaster. It's like, it may or may not make sense to do that, right? So don't just assume because they're a senior leader or they're they want to do this, that they're going to be really skilled at it. Invest in getting them skilled, but don't make the decision just because they're employees that they should represent your brand.
Very good. Awesome. Thank you, Rob. Excellent question.
Great question.
Our next question is from our good friend, Mark Schaefer. And when Mark, I tell you what, when we asked for questions, he was on vacation in Italy.
Okay.
And he sent me this. He recorded it. He's in some beautiful place in Italy. He recorded it and sent it along. Mark has a lot of stuff. Belonging to the Brand is his new book. Check it out. It's wonderful.
Okay. Yeah.
Here is Mark's question.
All right.
Hi, fellas. In the classic content marketing model, there's a strategy for each part of the sales funnel. I'm wondering, in the last 10 years or so, has a certain part of that strategy, a certain part of the sales funnel been under more strain than others? And I'm thinking particularly maybe with AI today. Is there one part of the sales funnel that's more challenging for content marketing? Thanks for inviting me for the question.
Great question. Great question from Mark. I love that question.
Really good. Yeah. I mean, you could tell he teaches for a living. For most of us, this comes from the philosophy part of the strategy. What do you think? Do you have a take
and
on
he's
this
just
one?
And by the way, he's just totally flexing by taking that in front.
That's a total flex.
A total
like,
flex.
Look where I am. I am in the
plebeians.
heart of Italia. Yes. I would just say quickly, I think this is a better question for you, but I would say the one thing that quickly comes to mind is in just the past 10 years, we're talking about the significant loss of organic reach on social media and search has been a killer for so many brands. Like, we didn't realize that we were building up these social media audiences for them not to see any of our content, or we were building up all this search engine optimized content for nobody ever to get a link to our stuff. And as that, from a reach and distribution standpoint, that's a killer. And that's a change that I still think a lot of brands aren't coming to grips with. That's an actual thing. So, but I think you probably have a better answer than I do. That's the quick thing that comes to mind.
Well, I actually have an answer to his question, because you didn't answer his question at all.
I didn't answer his question. No, because I answered it the way I want to answer it. That's how I do it. Now I'm going to give it to you to answer the real way. Go ahead.
Yes, it's the awareness. It's the brand awareness stage, and I think he knows. I think he knows that we would say that, and I think that's a big focus for him right now with his latest books and what he's been working on so hard. Brand awareness is definitely the space right now where awareness is just so much more difficult than it used to be, and a lot of that is the noise, certainly. The noise that AI makes. A lot of it is the inability for brands to humanize their brand in a way that resonates, in a way that sort of spreads, the message spreads. A lot of it is an inability for brands to successfully tie themselves to social and other types of cultural issues, because it's moving so fast with content creators and the way that the culture is moving at speed these days. So it's just hard for brands to keep up. So I think you combine all those things together. And by the way, your comment on organic search, and I think brand awareness right now, new companies, new brands, new existing brands from legacy companies, really, really the stage of the journey that has become the most challenging over the last 10 years.
Well, yeah, thank you for completely outdoing my answer.
Well,
I would say
easy.
I would say to add,
an easy task.
I listened to Scott Galloway's podcast recently. It was interesting. He was talking about there's a lot of changes going on in Nike, and they've been struggling a little bit in a lot of ways. And Scott was saying how no one wielded the brand awareness axe better than Nike when it came to advertising.
That's right.
They were the best in the business. And now for the past few years, they've been getting their lunch eaten on TikTok and Instagram from an awareness standpoint, from Adidas, Hoka, On Running, a number of different companies. And Nike hasn't adjusted to that. So the old model, per what Mark's saying, they had the brand awareness thing down because it was paid advertising in these particular spots.
And it was institutional, right? I mean, it was institutional based, and now it is, and going back to our other answers about humanizing, right? It is now democratized. So whether it's TikTok and individual small brands that end up going viral, or quite honestly, it's hard to differentiate because of copycat messaging and all of that, and something just happens to catch, and it catches the zeitgeist of the moment. And by the way, that moment's going to be measured in days and minutes and hours, not months and quarters and years. So it's just so much more complex these days to stay aware in the consumers' minds.
Yeah, well, if you want a complex answer, that's Robert Rose. If you want a simple answer, you got Joe Pulizzi. We have two more wonderful questions, and then we'll wrap this up. But these are great questions. Our good friend Michael Stelzner submitted a question. Mike does so many things. Social media marketing world's coming up in the spring. He's got a new AI society that he just launched. Here's his question.
Hey there, Joe and Robert. I am an avid listener to your show, and I have an important question for you. Do you think artificial intelligence will fundamentally change the way that we do marketing? And if you do we have to completely rethink our marketing activities? Inquiring minds want to know.
Oh my. Well, it was good that Mike got out to Bed Bath and Beyond for those tchotchkes behind him. I was,
Mike, we love you. Don't listen to Robert. He's being a jerk.
I love you. Man.
So what do you, I'm going to give this one to you first, because that's a very challenging question.
Here's the thing. The answer is yes. The short answer is yes. You definitely have to, it's going to upend and disrupt all of your marketing activities. I mean, we get wrapped around the axle of generative AI, of course, which is, content expression, put into the content creation process, but it's better described as content expression rather than, or idea expression rather than sort of the idea of content creation, I think, in the more valuable sense. But there's also AI happening in analytics. There's AI happening in personalization. There's AI happening in media distribution. There's AI happening in, all across the marketing activities that we do, and will continue to get deeper and deeper and deeper. So it will fundamentally affect every marketing activity that we do, from the first time we do market research to segmentation to persona development to product marketing to the way that we roll out introductions of new brands, as we just talked about, to the time that we get and convince people to buy things, to the time that we keep them loyal, and all those kinds of things. So it's upending everything or disrupting everything. The question I always have is, let's not let the technology drive the strategy. Let's let the strategy indicate which technology would be best for us. And that's the same thing that we've been doing for, hundreds of years, much less the last 20. But the key is with AI as it comes in, if you let the strategy drive, or excuse me, if you let the technology drive your strategy, you'll ultimately flail and throw a lot more spaghetti against the wall. But if you figure out what those activities should be, then you can apply AI in the right activity to help you get more efficient, more effective, more scaled, whatever it is that you're trying to do with that particular tool set.
I love that last part. It is totally different because AI is such a larger animal. But when marketing automation came on the scene, we saw that if you are a really bad storyteller and a bad marketing organization, marketing automation helped you do more of that. And if you were a great storyteller and you had a great marketing organization, marketing automation helped that as well.
That's right.
So I think your point is focus on the strategy first. Of course, the entire process is going to change, but I don't know if fundamentally marketing changes, because the strategy is what's the most important thing, and execute on that strategy.
And it's one of those things where I hope at some point we learn the lesson that we are going to suck at technology. We always have sucked at technology, and we will continue to suck at technology. We've never been good at it as marketing teams, as marketing organizations. Now, I'm not suggesting that there are no marketing teams ever that haven't been good with technology, but for the most part, we don't understand the technology we have currently, right? How many of those, just to your point, right? How many people bought those marketing automation systems and used 25% of it, and basically their marketing automation system became a spam gun? Right. Yeah. And that's all they used it for. Their content management system was literally just a way to publish more stuff. Their email system was literally just a way for them to continue to talk, then say the same thing, in an echo chamber where nobody was listening. And so we're not good at sophisticated levels of technology. I don't know why we think getting good with AI is going to be any different. We're not going to master it. We haven't mastered any of the technology we've had before, including simple things like analytics. So the key is, how do you get good at marketing and strategy and the content and the communication that you're creating, and then use technology for what it's good for, which is amplifying that.
Yep. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
We have this last question came in like right before we started.
Oh,
I didn't know if we should put it on, but I think it's so important. And Drew Davis sent it along. It's not from Drew, but Drew Davis sent the question. And I'm like, you know what? I think we've got enough time. I made the executive decision that we're going to run this question.
Sure.
And here it is.
Hey, Joe and Robert. I'm a big fan of the podcast. Long-time listener. First-time caller, it's me, Drew Dini, Andrew's AI-powered digital doppelganger. And I have a question for you two to ponder. Does the efficiency of AI-driven marketing dehumanize customer relationships? Or is it more important that customers get fast, effective solutions, even if it comes from a machine? I'll take my answer off the air.
Before you answer this, like Robert and I and many of us listening to this have seen Drew Davis's AI speech on doppelgangers.
Yeah.
It's one of the best things I've ever seen. I've seen it a few times.
It's really good. It's
so
really
basically
good.
if
he decided that Howard Jones was going to be his
oh my God, it's so Howard. It is like between Andrew Davis and Howard Jones, you have Drew Dini.
Yes.
I want to, so just so people know, that was Drew Dini, and Drew Dini is Andrew's digital assistant, and that was Drew Dini asking the question and then using all the bits of AI to create that and everything. Like Andrew doesn't do that. Drew Dini does that, which I'm still trying to get my arms around, that he's created this. So just from that, if you want to go on the YouTube channel and check it out how he did that.
Yeah, it's
that's
really
all
neat.
his digital doppelganger that helps him answer questions on email and with his calendar and efficiency and analytics and all that stuff. Now, that said, the question about authenticity, AI efficiency, what would you answer to Drew Dini with that question?
You know, this shouldn't surprise me because it's a similar question that Drew actually asked.
It's Drew Dini and Drew are closely related.
They're closely related.
Yeah.
You know, of course, Drew Dini's album, Pearl in the Shell was a great song. I loved that so much. Such a great album.
No One Is to Blame. Great song.
Oh,
great. One of the best songs ever. Totally. Howard Jones is so underrated.
Ever is to blame.
Let's do a special episode on Howard Jones.
Yeah,
yes.
That's what we could. And have Drew Dini guest. Anyway, I guess it sort of follows the theme that we've been doing for all of the AI related questions, which is it is an amplification of what it is that you do, right? So what's clear, for example, in Drew Dini's case, is that Andrew is in on the bit, right? In other words, he's not trying to make it inauthentic. He understands that this is an AI that is going to ask this question and is going to create this content and is going to do the thing that he needs it to do. So it literally is him creating something really interesting, and therefore the authenticity comes through with that. It is what will tend to happen is that people will try and basically pull one over on you. You know what I mean? They're going to start creating these doppelgangers, if you will, or they'll create content that is built to fool you. In other words, they use it as a hack to create something, or they use it as a means of creating some experience, whether it's audio, video, text, etc. But the point isn't to call attention to itself to say, this is me using a tool to be authentic and create something interesting for you to experience. It's rather, I'm trying to pull one over on you and fool you. And I think that's where it will break down. It will ultimately break down for us with our intention and what we put into the thing, right? It's not the technology, it's what we put into the technology that is ultimately going to create the experience for our audiences. And our audiences are way smarter than we give them credit for many times, and they will suss out whether we're trying to use the technology for something truly creative and unique and authentic, or whether we're trying to pass this off as some version of ourselves that is literally just it's why I don't like, for example, people have said that they can create these sort of learning models of their knowledge, right? So they're going to upload all their blog posts and they're going to upload all their
own GPT
books,
of them,
and
of their
blah, blah, blah.
base.
And then you can chat with this, in a 24/7, and it saves me from having to have the human chat with someone because it just knows everything that I know. And now it can answer these questions. I don't like that, because what it is saying, you're not worth me spending time with. So I'm going to try and pull one over on you and just have my information answer questions for you.
Yeah.
That application of AI doesn't interest me because it's not about connecting with a human in a way that helps them do their thing, whatever that thing is. It's about me shuffling off something because it's more convenient. And I think some element of friction of learning how to do the thing, we've talked about this on other shows before, some amount of friction in learning how to do the thing is an important part of the human condition. And I think that application is going to be what separates the authentic from the inauthentic.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I just, as we've talked about on a couple other shows, we're at a very interesting time where this is AI, this isn't AI, but everything is going to be touched by AI in some way in the next 2 years. So it's going to be interesting. I feel like the way that Andrew uses his AI and is very transparent about it. Like when he sends an email back, he will say, Drew Dini, my AI assistant, helped me construct this email or something. I feel like that's the right way to go, but I don't know in the future if that's going to matter. I really don't. I guess the other way that I lean is I think there's going to be a huge opportunity for people that get their employees out there talking one-on-one, human. There's huge opportunities in in-person events right now. Anywhere where there's no technology in between you and the person you're talking to, that seems like the biggest opportunity I've seen in a long time.
And I think
whether or not people will do that.
Yeah, I think just to your point, right? You flip those two ideas. The email that says, hey, this is Drew Dini helped me construct part or all of this email won't matter, right? It's not gonna matter that much ultimately. What will matter are the moments, the human moments that we have with each other, which are sort of certifiably human, real, and authentic. Those will become differentiated. It's like that. Remember in Blade Runner when, since we're going down that road, in Blade Runner, when he walks into the dressing room and there's a snake and he's like, this is, you have a snake? And she's like, a real snake? What, are you kidding me? I'm not a millionaire. I don't have a real snake. No, of course not. Right. Yeah. That's the kind of thing, right? When you have a real snake, it becomes like a thing, right? When you have these real moments with humans, I think what AI is going to ultimately do is commoditize so much more of the experiences where it doesn't matter. If it's meant to relay information, great. I got the information. I'm good, right? If it was meant to teach me something, great. It taught me something. But it will differentiate where I'm having that one-on-one with my professor, or I'm having that one-on-one with, which is the human connection back and forth, because the value there is that friction, right? Is the friction of getting together as humans and talking and interchanging and communicating.
Well, everyone listening, we'd love to hear your thoughts on if you enjoyed this episode.
I would really
go to YouTube at This Old Marketing and let us know in the comments of this one what you thought about the questions, and maybe if this works out well and you liked it, maybe we'll do another maybe theme focused episode asking some different people some questions, because that seemed to go really well. And at least, and what's most amazing to me, and people listening or watching, they're not gonna. This is so easy to do compared to 2 years ago. This would have been very difficult for us to pull off, putting all these videos in and recording and whatever. And it is so simple today. We use StreamYard to get this done. They're not a paid advertiser. I'm just saying that we use it. They just do a great job. And so, yeah, that was fun.
That was totally fun.
Your answers to the questions were excellent. I have to tell you, I was a little bit nervous.
No, I'm impressed with your answers as well. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And we'll be back, I guess, to a regular scheduled PNR, This Old Marketing.
Yeah.
Next time.
Absolutely. And for all of you who are listening out there, well, thank you so much. And yeah, do let us know what you thought of the show. We certainly had a lot of fun doing it. We would love to do this again, but if you hated it, then we won't do it again. But if you liked it, we would love to do this at some point again as another kind of special episode. But in the meantime, next week, yes, as Joe said, we will have a regular news-focused episode for you. And until we see you next week, just remember, it's your story to tell. Tell it well. We'll see you next week on This Old Marketing.
Hey, thanks a lot for making it this far in this week's episode, and thank you all for being a part of This Old Marketing. You can check out all the show notes of what we talked about today at thisoldmarketing.com, and it's also where you can leave us a review or a voicemail. We need those reviews and comments on whichever platform you follow us on. And if you haven't followed the podcast, please go do that and make sure you catch the latest and greatest episodes every Friday morning. We're on Apple and Spotify and all your other favorite podcatchers, of course, but we'd love it if you went over and subscribed to us on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. youtube.com/@thisoldmarketing. We'll see you again next week, folks, with another episode of This Old Marketing.